Hello and welcome to another video on the 390 Adventure. By now you've probably already seen our first ride review video, and this time around we're gonna dive a little deeper into what makes the 390 Adventure tick. Now the way we're gonna do that is by answering some questions. Some of these questions have come in from you guys, our viewers, and the rest of them are things we've been wondering about the bike for a really long time. For example, we know KTMs are awesome to ride fast, but what's this one like to ride slow? Noticeably better than the 390 Duke, and that's for certain. The first thing you'll notice is that you're sat in a very commanding riding position. The tall seat and wide handlebar make you feel like you're riding a much bigger motorcycle, but the bike is also slim, so you can still maneuver through traffic fairly easily. The heightened seating position also aids visibility, and since the bike uses the same gearing as the 390 Duke, it's just as exciting to accelerate hard through the gears when you can. Speed breakers still demand first gear, but once the traffic opens up a bit, you can hold a gear higher than necessary, which makes city commuting rather easy. Yes, the 855mm seat height will be intimidating for some people, but it's a relatively light bike, and as long as you can comfortably get one foot on the ground, it's not something that should deter you from riding it. Another happy finding is that the 390 Adventure's new twin-fan curved radiator design does a noticeably better job than the Duke's. The heat deflectors built into the radiator shrouds divert hot air away from your legs, and even in jam traffic, I noticed that the bike never got uncomfortably hot. Overall, this KTM packs the right ingredients to be able to call itself a genuine everyday motorcycle. On to question number 2. Way too many people were disappointed by the fact that this bike didn't get spoked wheels or an adjustable fork. Now with these things not on offer, how much adventure is the 390 Adventure really capable of? I think the real question is, how much adventure do you think you can throw at the 390 Adventure? KTM is clearly not targeting this bike at hardcore off-road enthusiasts, but it showed it could take a proper beating at the first ride event without any major issues. For the mild off-roading this bike has been designed to handle, we see no reasons for concern, but the combination of a few thousand kilometers over the average Indian road should provide the complete answer. On my time with the 390 Adventure, I found that despite my limited off-road expertise, it's remarkably easy to ride on gravel and broken stretches of road. The quick shifter takes away all the stress of having to use the clutch and switch gears when you're accelerating or slowing down hard, and then there's the safety net of the traction control and cornering ABS. When you do start to get comfortable on the bike, you also have the option to disable traction control and ABS at the rear, and there aren't too many things that make you feel more skilled than you are, the way that a controlled power slide does. On the downside, the suspension setup is not quite as plush as some of you may expect. There is about 30mm more travel than the Duke, but it is set up on the firmer side, especially at the rear. Make no mistake, this bike will eat through any form of bad road without stress, and it will take you pretty much anywhere. But it won't feel as cushy as a Royal Enfield Himalayan. At the end of the day, this 390 will be your able companion on your adventures. Just you and your motorcycle into the unknown. But then life isn't perfect. And someday you will find that you need to ferry someone else around. Now the question is, are they going to have as enjoyable a time as you? And what if you're heading out on a long ride? How far can you go on a full tank of fuel? In the past, KTM sold in India have had a reputation for being rather inconsiderate with how accommodating the rear seats are. Things got better with the new age Dukes, and they've taken another big step ahead with this bike. The pillion seat on the 390 Adventure is wide and accommodating, and the rear foot peg position also means your passenger will be quite relaxed on your interstate escapades. In terms of efficiency, we put the KTM through our standard fuel efficiency tests, and it returned 35.8 kilometers per liter on the highway and 27.9 kilometers per liter in the city. Even when ridden hard, we found that the highway efficiency stayed at decent levels, and you'll easily be able to squeeze out between 320 and 350 kilometers per full tank of fuel. If you're more careful, you might even cover 400 kilometers on a full tank. Well, this next question has been asked on every post, picture and video we've ever put up on this bike. And that is, how does it compare to this, the Royal Enfield Himalayan? If I'm being honest, a significant difference in both price and performance mean the two don't really compare. The Himalayan is the more off-road biased bike with its longer travel suspension and greater ground clearance, but it's also the heavier bike and it just doesn't match the raw power that the KTM has to offer. Take into consideration all the toys that this bike has on offer and it does justify the 1 odd lakh excess rupees that it demands. Well, I'm sorry Firoz, I know you were looking forward to a fun day out of the office, but I think it's time you head back. Now that Firoz isn't around to hear this, let's talk about the downsides. And the 390 Adventure does have a few. For starters, the quick shifter feels crude on upshifts if you short shift while accelerating hard, and downshifts with the auto blipper aren't as smooth as we'd like either. Then there's the ergonomics. The handlebar is set far too low for standing up and riding, and you're bent over reaching down for it. An aftermarket handlebar riser will help to some extent, but I think you'd have to switch to a differently shaped handlebar to completely fix it, especially if you're a tall rider. Another nitpick is that I found certain information like fuel range on the TFT display was hard to read and forced me to take my eyes off the road more than I'd like. With that out of the way, we now move into the last question. When KTM brought the 390 Duke to India, it changed everything we knew about affordable performance machines, and the 390 Adventure was expected to offer a similar experience for the adventure enthusiast. For all that it has to offer, KTM has certainly nailed it with a Rs 2.99 lakh ex-showroom price, but now that it's here, the big question is this motorcycle all that it promises to be? Or to put it more simply, is this the best affordable ADV in our country? I definitely think so. You see, there are motorcycles that are more affordable, have better suspension travel, and are just easier to ride off-road, but they're not nearly as good as this bike is on the road, and none of them are as complete a package. As a bike to go out on, discover new places, and live the definition of adventure, this 390 Adventure hits a sweet spot.